Because I think you're the perfect person to ask right now, because you've seen all this and, several times around and been involved. So, to your mind, is there a Trump doctrine? Is there a plan?
I don't think there's a Trump doctrine yet. I think what we have is an approach to the rest of the world. Obviously, America first is the starting point of that. I think he also has a sort of belief in spheres of influence. He likes and admires, to some extent, other powerful leaders. And I think some of this stuff, which we've taken surprise by, about perhaps on Greenland and Panama and so on, is about consolidating America's sphere of influence over the Western Hemisphere. We'll see what the approach is going to be on Europe, on Ukraine, on the Middle East and on China. But it's step by step at this stage. I don't think there's an overall global plan, but there'll be a series of issues that he'll want to
OK, so
raise.
I'm going to dig down on some of them, but the Foreign Affairs' latest headline says, Trump's America first is not realism. Don't mistake bluster and cynicism for toughness and wisdom. Do you agree?
Well, there is some bluster in Trump's approach. The idea he was going to solve the Ukraine war in 24 hours was bluster. But I think we have to take this seriously. President Trump's been elected with a very strong mandate by the American people. He's not everybody's choice. I don't think he'd be the choice of many Europeans as leader of the United States. But he is the man elected, and so we will work with President Trump. I think there are some contradictions in his approach. For example, on tariffs, I don't think tariffs is going to be the panacea, the cure-all that President Trump is hoping it's going to be. And he's keen to be a peacemaker, but there has to be some substance. There has to be some effective American leadership on this. And leadership requires having followers as well. And it's not clear how he's going to achieve that.
OK, so on that issue, before we get to Greenland and some of the other, the strongest survive business, he has just tweeted today a message to Russia and to Putin himself. And these are just a couple of the things we've pulled out. I'm not looking to hurt Russia. I love the Russian people and always had a very good relationship with President Putin. Then, if we don't make a deal, and soon, I have no other choice but to put high levels of taxes, tariffs and sanctions on anything being sold by Russia to the United States and various other participating countries. So they're already very heavy sanctions. They haven't really worked in the way that I think the West thought they would. And according to experts, Russia doesn't sell much to the US.
That's correct.
OK, so what about this tweet?
Well, I think it's a statement of intent towards President Putin to take a tougher approach than perhaps some people have expected. As you say, taxes and tariffs aren't going to make any difference to Putin because there's no US-Russian trade of any substance. Sanctions, well, then you'd have to interrupt Russia's oil exports to countries like India and China. Now, that would take quite a heavy lifting to do that. The Biden administration...
It basically won't happen.
The Biden administration avoided doing that because they didn't want to raise the global price of oil. Well, maybe there's a trade-off here between increased oil production in the United States and tighter sanctions on Russian oil. But I don't think any of this is really going to be persuasive for President Putin. He launched this war in order to destroy the independence of the Ukrainian state. Ukrainians are resisting, fighting for their very existence. I think the answer, if President Putin is not prepared to reach some form of fair deal or recognising freezing the conflict on the present border, if he's not prepared even to do that, then the only real answer for the United States and the US president is to reinforce the level of military support for Ukraine and provide the weapons and wherewithal to enable Ukraine to defend itself against the Russian invasion.
Which sounds like a 360 or a 180 from Trump and his acolytes, because they don't want to do that. But they've sort of hinted that they might make that threat if Putin doesn't come to the table and etc.